Hey everyone, welcome to Princess of Gay. I'm your host, Connie, and today we will be talking about Black Panther Wakanda Forever. And I'm just going to let you know right off the bat there will be spoilers in here, but I will warn you as to when the spoilers will start, and I will let you know like when to watch out for that. There will be the chapters on the YouTube progress bars, all of that will be set up. Um, and I'll give you a verbal warning, anyways. So, Black Panther Wakanda Forever is the sequel to, well, obviously, Black Panther, and follows the events of previous films within the MCU and focuses on the future of Wakanda after the passing of King T'Challa, aka the Black Panther. It is a movie that is very heavily dedicated to the real life passing of the star of the first movie and the actor who played T'Challa, Chadwick Boseman, who unfortunately passed away in, I believe it was 2020. And it is a really emotional film because of that. Because of how dedicated it is to him and his legacy and everything he worked for to make this character come alive. It was a big deal. And I would say that this film, without spoilers, isn't perfect. It's definitely not perfect, but I would say it is one of the best MCU projects to date. I would say it's right up there with the likes of No Way Home and Werewolf by Night, basically. But I wouldn't put it at the very top. And the reason for that is there were a couple things that I wasn't so sure about, and a couple of things that honestly felt a little generic, I guess is the way to put it. It just felt like it was like, oh, of course this is going to happen. It's like this always happens. Obviously, I'll get into spoilers regarding that in a bit. But to just go off of, stuff that was obvious from the trailers, we know that there are some new characters debuting in this film, including Namor, who is portrayed differently than in the original comics, we'll say for now. And also introduced is Riri Williams, aka Ironheart, who is going to be getting her own series. And without going into the spoilers, I'll say that these two stole the show for me. A lot of people talk about Shuri and the Queen really stealing the show, and they did amazing. The actresses did phenomenal, obviously. But for me, Namor and Riri were the ones that really caught my attention. Both from an acting standpoint and just characters standpoint. Their characters shined the most for me. And it's all subjective. It's obviously all just completely based on personal experience and personal viewpoint when viewing the film. And maybe it might change if I saw the film again. I've only seen it once. So I will say that this is just a current opinion on this. But again, Shuri, the Queen, their actors did a great job. Okie's actress did a phenomenal job. It's like I'm not trying to take away from them at all. The story was actually really good and integrated things in well with the tribute aspect of this film. It felt natural. Though, and this was always going to be an issue, there was no real way to make this feel natural. T'Challa's death feels out of nowhere. because it kind of was with Chadwick Boseman, and again, there was nothing they could really do to make that feel more natural. Because the issue is, it's like they kind of had to just invent something for the sake of this film to explain him just dying kind of out of nowhere. And unfortunately, with no previous build up to it in other films or projects, it does feel off. It's not bad, and they did the best they could, and I'm not at all minimizing the amazing tribute they gave to him. But it was always going to feel off because, again, it was a very sudden passing for Chadwick Boseman. And they had to do something. The only other choice would be recasting, and that wouldn't have been right. I know there's a lot of people who are kind of on the side of wanting T'Challa to be recast, and even now, even after this film, they're saying like, oh, with the multiverse, they could recast him and it'd technically be a different T'Challa and everything. And it's like, yeah, but I just, with the legacy that Chadwick Boseman has left behind, and with everything that this passing meant and everything that his role as T'Challa meant, I think that it would be disrespectful at this point to recast the character. And with this film and everything it did to honor his legacy and his role to play in the MCU, it wouldn't work. It would feel extremely disrespectful, in my opinion, at least. But yeah, it's just, I think that this movie did what it needed to do and set up well for the future in that regard. Obviously, the acting is all phenomenal. The action and effects are great. The story is great. The soundtrack, everything is great, really. I have no issue with pretty much any of that. Now, we are going to move into the spoilers because in order to talk about this movie further, I do want to go into the specifics of what happens and at least the general idea of what the main story is about, which wasn't really, at least not in any of the trailers I saw, discussed in the trailers. So, to go with the full on what this story is about, I really need to go into the spoiler stuff. So, we are going to begin with spoilers in just a second here, just letting you all know, giving you a chance to click off if you have not seen the film yet. Once again, it will also tell you on the progress bar in the video when that exactly starts. It's going to start in just a second here. But just wanted to let you all know. So, we will begin with spoilers for Black Panther Wakanda Forever in 3, 2, 1, now. Okay, so the main plot for Wakanda Forever is that Namor, the leader of an undersea people, comes to the surface in Wakanda. He approaches the Queen and Shuri after they have mourned the passing of T'Challa, and tells them that basically shit's going down. That vibranium has been found outside of Wakanda, that there is a scientist who created this device to find the vibranium, and that it's causing a lot of trouble for these sea-dwelling people, and they want the Wakandans' help to fight against them. The Queen obviously is not really wanting to hear about this, but Namor still gives her the message, and it's like, figure this out, I'll be back, we'll handle this. But this needs to be handled. And so it's figured out that the scientist is a college student, and so Okoye and Shuri go to get her, to keep her safe and everything, to bring her back to Wakanda. But on the way back, they are first attacked by the government, and then, eventually after that, by Namor and his people. The government is attacking because they found out about everything going on, and it was initially Ross, Martin Freeman's character, who told the Wakandans about what was going on in the first place, about Riri's existence. Because yes, the scientist who created the vibranium machine is Riri Williams, a 19-year-old college student who is an absolute fucking genius. And it's like, thank you for portraying her right. It's like, I don't know a lot about Riri Williams from the comics and stuff, but I do know some things, and I very much know she is an absolute super genius. Arguably, some would say even possibly smarter than Tony Stark. And she is a tech expert, and she is the successor to Tony Stark as Ironheart. So in this, we see they confront her and tell her basically that she's going to be hunted down. And so the government comes to try and get her. Then Namor and his squad come, and there's this big fight with Shuri, Okoye, and Riri taking on the Sea Dwellers. I can't remember their name. I apologize for that. But there's this big scene of them taking them on, and it eventually ends with the Sea Dwellers winning, and Shuri offers to be brought down with Riri to their home as long as Okoye is kept safe and everything. She basically does a self-sacrifice situation. While they go down there, the queen and it finds out from Okoye, who is stripped of her rank and everything, and shit continues to go down as the two sides start to connect a little bit. We see that Shuri starts talking with Namor and starts learning about the history of their people and about Namor himself, why he has wings on his feet, and why he looks more normal compared to the rest of his people who all have blue skin and can only breathe in water while he can also breathe air. We actually find out he's a mutant, so that's fun. But they start to actually connect, and she starts to see like his point of view, and honestly, so do we as an audience. Namor is not a bad guy. He's doing bad things for what he perceives as the greater good, but he's not a bad person. He's just trying to protect his people. And he feels that every other developed nation in the world is an active threat to them at this point. And honestly, can you really blame him? Can you really blame him for that? So, Shuri ends up being broken out Shuri and Riri end up being broken out by Nakia, who is called upon once again from Haiti to infiltrate and save them. She succeeds, they get out, but unfortunately, in doing so, they end up having to kill one of the guards, who is very clearly not a bad person and just doing her job, and is very much a victim of the circumstances and everything, and that's made very clear that was not fair for her to lose her life there. But this causes Namor and his people to attack Wakanda, which results in the death of the Queen, which is a huge deal, actually. Like, that actually surprised the shit out of me in the theater. It's like, oh, the Queen is dead. Fuck. But yeah, with now mourning this as well, Shuri Shuri kind of goes off the deep end and gets really angry. And I understand why. But after completing some work on creating a synthetic heart-shaped herb, she becomes the Black Panther and vows revenge on Namor. And this leads to a big climax fight between the two sides that ends with Shuri and Namor deciding, after a huge, powerful fight, to reconcile their differences. Shuri and even Namor come to realize that they were, just acting out of hatred and rage, and they weren't thinking about it properly, and it would be better if they aligned in the end and just stayed on each other's side and not tried to kill each other. Which they do. They do align at the end. The fight stops, and we have the end of the movie just continuing the mourning in a respectful, beautiful way. And then you have the mid-credits scene, which shows that Nakia, prior to T'Challa's death, had been impregnated by T'Challa and has since given birth to their son, who she named after his father, King T'Challa Jr. And it's this really cathartic, beautiful moment for Shuri, and that's where the film ends. So, as I mentioned, the highlights of this film for me are definitely Riri and Namor. Namor is a big, obvious one. People have been praising the actor's performance, and obviously that's a big part of it. Plus, having the native Mexican representation is a huge deal. It's a really big deal to showcase a form of representation that really hasn't been shown much. Because he's not Latino. He's native Mexican. There's a very notable difference there. Both the actor and the character. Namor in the comics, I believe, is pretty much white, and he looks more Vulcan-like, Star Trek Vulcan-like. So they changed up a bit about his origin here, but I think this works really well for the story being told. For the themes and the ideas and just the overall, idea of two people who have been discriminated against and victimized by the world around them being kind of pitted against each other and having to learn to come together rather than take out their hatred for others on each other. It's a wonderful, wonderful theme for this film. And Namor's actor does a phenomenal job at portraying this. He gets down just every right emotion. From the anger to, you even see some happiness, you see sorrow, you see just every emotion in the book, and he nails it. Not to mention the costuming they went with for him is fantastic. It definitely gets across the native design and everything, while also really standing out amongst all the other characters, including the rest of his own people. But then we had Riri Williams, and I was excited for Ironheart because, again, from what I know of the character, from what I know of Riri, definitely a character I would be excited for. Definitely a character who is, building this next generation of heroes that we've been seeing with the likes of America Chavez and Miss Marvel. And this is the kind of generation I'm excited for seeing. And I hope we get ones like Squirrel Girl as well. That would be freaking awesome. Or hell, get a Ghost Spider in there. That would be amazing too. But building up this next generation of heroes has been wonderful. And Riri definitely shines. Riri has sass. She is extremely smart. She's very human as well. Like she gets very emotional. She gets scared. She gets excited. She has fun. She's a very human character, and that's really a definite highlight for me in regards to that, because so many of these superheroes oftentimes feel very not inhuman exactly. That's an entirely different property. But no, they feel like they're lacking a certain sense of realism to their humanity, um, that just makes them feel like characters rather than, actual people. Like when I see someone like Tony Stark, I don't think like, oh, this is a person I could see in everyday life. No. I think this is fucking Tony Stark. And that's great for what it is, but it's like, I just don't see the humanity there. They're like the realistic humanity. I see a comic book character brought to life in a great way by Robert Downey Jr., but is still a comic book character. But with a lot of these newer generation of heroes we've been getting from Phase 4, I'm seeing realistic human portrayals. From Shang-Chi, The Eternals, Miss Marvel, Moon Knight, and especially now with Riri. It's like this new generation is shining in a way that the previous generation that started this entire franchise off just didn't, in my eyes. Riri is really relevant to this film too. She's not just like a minor character here and there to build up the future Ironheart series. No, she's extremely important to this movie. As I said, she's the scientist who created the vibranium locating device that that Namor is wanting to protect his people from, and he wants Riri dead because of this, because he feels she's too dangerous. And so the Wakandans are trying to help her throughout the film, and again, she's very relevant in the chase scene with the government agents, and then the sea dwellers. Like, you see her have like a Mark I suit, which is a very much like a hastily put together suit, like you see Tony do in the first Iron Man film. But then later in the movie, during the big climax fight, she brings out this suit she worked on in Wakanda, and it's the Mark II suit, and it's stunningly well made. It is so good. Like, not only does the body and shoulders and all form into the shape of a heart, but it's a very well updated version of her comic book look that allows her to stand out in a new way. Because the comic book look it's very much similar to Iron Man himself. This look, this armor that we see in Wakanda Forever, allows her to stand apart. It's still very Iron Man-like, but in a way that is like, oh no, this isn't Iron Man, this is Ironheart. It forges her own identity. And that, I think, is impressive, honestly. I just really, really enjoyed this. I thought it was a great movie. I thought the acting was great, the story was great, the pacing. It didn't feel as long as it was, by any means. There's some fantastic music in it, including Rihanna's new song that was made for the film. Just overall, like, this was the tribute to Chadwick Boseman that we needed and that he deserved. And it was also what we can believe that he would have wanted. A great movie. A great superhero movie, a great Black Panther movie, a great movie about a real issue that people face. Multiple real issues, if you want to be technical. The characters are very real, are very lovable, and you care. about what's going down with them on all sides. The Wakandans, Namor and his people, obviously Ross. You care about all of these characters, and getting to see this film that has so much passion and love put behind it just goes to show that this is what we want from the MCU and its future. And I think that they have been heading in the right direction for all of Phase 4. And I can't wait to see what we get with Phase 5. Hopefully Quantumania is better than Ant-Man and the Wasp was. But in the meantime, tell me in the comments below, what did you think of Black Panther Wakanda Forever? Did you love it as much as I did? Did you find some more little issues with it here and there? Let me know. And for now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.